Come on, you maggots. We don't have much time left. You shouted at the top of your lungs.
Working as fast as we can, boss.
Hissing, you turned around, returning into your office. You're surrounded by idiots. Another one of those heavenly purgers was approaching quickly. But an order from your overboss to push more product out last minute was making you sweat. And your heart race. You were a sinner, demon. Meaning you had been once human, condemned to heck for your crimes. But a gal like you had her standards. As terrible as the cards were that life had dealt you. As a human, you had been the personal plaything of a cartel boss. His little doll, as he put it. Of course, the bastard gave you your first taste of the otherworldly pleasure that was drugs. Addiction soon followed. And you had been humiliated into being his pet. To personally mistreat whenever he was mad just for another hit. And of course, one of his beatings, you didn't survive. Just one of many. You awoke in hell as a low-grade demon, called a marionette, due to you being so easily controlled. Long wires came out of your wrists and feet, and even your head. Your skin was pearly white with a slight orange sheen to it. And your hair, minus the wire, was completely grey. It was thanks to a collection of lucky circumstances that led you on the same path you'd been on when you were alive. Or were it more unlucky circumstances? Regardless, some small-time gangster boss took a liking to you at a club, and you just went with it, due to being used to it. Though if you had known that this admittedly very short partnership would lead to you taking over his business and getting one of the top overlords interested in you, you maybe would have been more optimistic about this entire thing from the beginning. The drug operation was dedicated to the production of a drug simply called lemon candy. It was sourced from a demon species called candy demons, quite fittingly. They were tall, lanky figures with rough, linen thread-like skin. The things looked like tall voodoo dolls. Their mouths were lined with sharp teeth, and their arms so long they dragged behind themselves. Their mouths were lined with sharp teeth, and their arms so long they dragged their hands behind themselves. They had a unique stomach that made it difficult to fully digest food, making it perfect for fermenting. By force-feeding them gummy bears and a concoction made of multiple highly addictive medication, a wet lemon-flavored blob was created in their stomach, which would simply be pulled out straight out of their tummies. As disgusting as the treat was, it gave a high that was out of this world, according to one of the addicts. It made you feel alive. And that's the product that was now in danger of falling into the hands of the approaching angels. If they saw your operation, they would definitely hesitate killing you. No, not because they would show mercy, but just to torture you a little bit more. The last bits of lemon candy were currently wrapped in paper, as you were nervously tapping your fingers on your work desk. You knew your boss was watching you. He was powerful enough to keep tabs on all of his minions. While not officially affiliated with him, he granted you some protection. Wasn't a daily occurrence an overlord of hell was interested in a dingy operation like yours. Of course you had deducted why. This was all bait. Your operation, small, seemingly unaffiliated demon gang setup, pushing a semi-rare drug, that was something everybody wanted to get their claws on. Your overboss just wanted to kill whoever was power-hungry enough to waste a few good men on you and your boys. But of course, during the purge, he was gone. Your phone suddenly rang, making you jump. Hello? Oh, darling, so nice to hear your little pathetic voice. You gulped. It was your boss. Good evening, Alastor, sir. I just wanted to make sure you haven't abandoned your post, my dear. Oh, never, sir, you stuttered. It is just that there is a bloodthirsty band of angelic holy beings on its way to eradicate your miserable existence. It's not my first purge, sir, you muttered. What was that, darling? Nothing, you gulped audibly. I was just saying that we will keep producing candy until the very end, sir. A bead of sweat ran down your forehead. You could feel the radio demon's shit-eating grin as he was quiet for a moment. If you survive, remember to call me so I know I don't have to replace you with someone else. Yes, sir, of course, sir. The ground suddenly shook as the noise of an explosion exploded all windows in your office and the warehouse you used for operation. There you are, my darling. I have to go. Ta-ta. Ta-ta. Sorry. I mean goodbye, sir. You slammed the phone on its station. Quickly and pathetically, you crawled on your desk in the fetal position. You closed your eyes and pressed your hands on your ears as you heard the screams of your boys. You had learned in life it was better to cower in fear than to fight back. That's why you sucked up to the first more powerful guy you had met. That's why you had betrayed said guy in favor of the next stronger guy, who at least just so happened to be one of the strongest. So at least your loyalty was guaranteed. Even though your guys outside were practically being devoured with how easy it was for the angels to cut them down, they still fought for your sake and the operations. About half of them just wanted to get into your pants, but the other half genuinely appreciated that you treated them like peons, rather than the worthless dirt others treated them as. It was just a tad bit better than what they were used to. Make them just loyal enough to not immediately flee. Plus, they probably were just bloodthirsty sociopaths. After 90 seconds, you counted, it was quiet in the warehouse. Of course, everywhere else, the screams of the damned echoed like the lullaby of death itself. And you exhaled, relaxing for just a second. But as your lungs were emptied, you heard loud steps stomp the metal stairs to your office. The engines could float. There was roughly a 1% chance it was another demon. The white light shining through the broken office door window, accompanied by a dark silhouette wielding a large spear, well, that was obvious indication for the 99% chance to be the case. In horror, you watched the desk be lifted by the being after it kicked down your door. It was holding up your heavy hardwood desk with but 2 fingers. The angel stared you down. Pathetically, you squealed and crawled backwards without breaking eye contact. The angel's head slowly following you until your back hit the wall. Carelessly, the being threw your desk out of the window that oversaw your production. The angel took a step forward. Hey, hi, I'm Stella, you stuttered. But my customers call me Candy. You tapped your fingers together. You can call me Candy? That is if you want to be a customer? wouldn't want a BJ or anything in exchange for my life? The angel didn't respond. It just took another step forward. The angel didn't respond with words. It just took another step forward. Rapidly, you blinked as you thought. Hey, could I, maybe, sample, my boss's drugs one last time? No? I assumed, I can't fault the girl for trying. The angel took another step. Tears began to burst out of your eyes. But then, the angel pointed the pointy end of its spear at you before waving it over to your phone. Oh, you want to know the location of my boss? Pathetically, you scrambled to stand up on your feet. They felt like jelly, and you were shaking all over. You really don't want me to get on my knees and work on... Offended, the angel shook his head, almost unnoticeably. Of course you knew the location of Alastor, or more his rough location, or at least the location that he told you. And then you pressed your eyes shut. For a horrifying moment, your heartbeat felt louder than the screams outside. You exhaled and then... I'm not telling you! You shouted.
Ah, good job, my darling. I knew I could count on you.
That voice. Quickly you opened your eyes. You were in an entirely different location all of a sudden. It appeared to be a sort of study with crimson red carpet, scarlet red walls, and bookshelves so high you couldn't see the upper end of them. Behind you, you heard the crackling noise of a fireplace. On a red lounger, holding up a cup of tea, sat your overboss. Your mouth formed the words, "Am I dead?"
No, you're not, my dear. I simply teleported you out of there. See it as a simple curiosity on my end.
But the angel was right there. When did you teleport me?
Around the time you closed your eyes.
Alastor placed the cup of tea on a tiny plate on a nearby coffee table and stood up. Gosh, he was so much taller than you.
And you didn't tell him of my, admittedly fake, location. Now, what I would find interesting would be knowing why you stayed hush-hush. Was it for my sake, or...
He paused and you blinked, expecting him to say something, but after 2 minutes of mind-melting silence between the two of you, you opened your mouth. I was dead either way, you muttered. Had I said where your location is, fake or not, I would have died by the angel, or you.
That is very perceptive, my little darling. But that's to be expected from someone of your vocation.
You blushed. If you allow me, sir, why did you save me?
As I said, curiosity, darling. Did you not listen?
Your heart stopped for a second. He stepped closer to you. Each step he took, you lowered your gaze further and further. And by the time he stood before you, you were staring at the tips of his shoes. From somewhere you watched his hand appear, and with a single finger he pushed you face up. Breathlessly you stared into Alastor's blood-red glowing eyes, his finger on your chin, preventing you to avert your gaze. It was a strangely intimate gesture for someone notoriously stuck up and uninterested in romance. And to your surprise, his face was coming closer. Once it was so close you could feel his breath wave over your face. You instinctively pursed your lips, preparing for a kiss. Only for his thumb to press onto your mouth.
Such a well-trained little toy.
He made a grimace akin to the smile of a gorilla, ready to brutalize whatever chimp that dared to oppose him.
I only wanted you to smile, my dear.
Alastor narrowed his eyes. His thumb now pushing past your lips. His skin tasted like a mix of salt and ash. Alastor's thumb pressing down on your tongue as your eyes widened. He stopped speaking, but you knew from experience what he wanted. Slowly, cautiously, your tongue slipped out from beneath his finger before rubbing against it. You made a very quiet noise. You had been trained to moan in these situations, but unless Alastor allowed you to be noisy, you better not make a single sound. A sudden, quiet, unintentional smack of your suckling echoed inside the room for what felt like an eternity. You gulped down a thick glob of anxious salvia. You didn't know how long you were sucking. You stopped counting. For you knew you would be dead the moment he pulled his finger out. But once he finally did, a thin line of spittle connecting your lower lip with his thumb, before finally breaking off. And with an almost disgusted facial expression, he wiped his hand on a handkerchief, which he then carelessly threw behind you into a fireplace. After taking on a more dignified position, Alastor sat back down on his chair. Crossing his legs, he grinned at you as if the silent exchange just now didn't happen.
I'd like you to get ready for something special tomorrow.
Okay.
You don't know it yet. It hasn't been in the news at all, but, well, tomorrow it will be in the news. My darling.
You gulped.
Tell me, you don't have an aversion for hotels, do you?
Thank you to the people who are supporting me on Ko-fi. You guys are keeping me alive. Special thank you to my lovely darling channel members Aruna, Chloe Rockenbow, Cherry Red Bunny, D's Nuts, Nicodemus D, Cat Cove, Kea Abyss, BitBit, Zings X-Ray, Melofia, Lavender Cheese, Muffin, A Simp, Hella, Nexorist, AJ Anime Girl, and Hopeful.